We go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this live webinar. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in for yet another episode of PitchGround Product Webinars, where we bring in amazing products. And this is a webinar which is for another incredible tool that we are going to showcase today. Guys, you have a great idea for website or mobile apps, but don't know how to code or don't have the time or money to put in or to learn or hire a developer. Even you can find someone who can design your concept in Figma. But what about the development, which is very costly and time consuming? So in this webinar, we will show you how you can convert any Figma designs into working websites or native apps without any coding or hiring a developer or taking a developer assistance. So guys, without further ado, let me welcome Adam, CEO and founder of Buzzy Company. Adam, we would love to hear about your company, team, and Buzzy journey before we get started. That would be fantastic. Over to you, Adam.
Hey, everybody. Swapnil, thanks. Very excited to be here. I'm in Australia. It's a bit early in the morning over here, but really looking forward to the session. A bit of background about Buzzy. We take your designs and convert them into working apps or websites with no code. Straight from Figma, the #1 design tool. We've been around for a while. We've built an amazing no-code platform, and we've now connected it to Figma that's really going to give you those superpowers to do some amazing stuff. My background, I was a founder of another tech company. I'm a geek, I'm a techie. We actually got acquired by IBM, and then I worked for IBM for a number of years in the space and decided to start Buzzy to help build tools that allow you to build better products faster. So that's a bit of background about me. And Swapnil, we'll just get into things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely. We can share, we can see your screen, we can start the presentation. And we are very much excited for the today's product show. And we want to learn how we can convert any Figma designs into a working mobile apps and the websites. Over to you, Adam.
Cool, thanks Swapnil. So this is from Peter Levine from Andreessen Horowitz, probably one of the largest VC companies out there. And he talked about that we now, the decade of coding is gone. We're now in the decade of design. And literally last week, I'm sure you saw in the news, Figma, the #1 design tool that's out there that's been beating all the other companies. And if you're not using it, you should be, was acquired by Adobe for $20 billion. That is the largest private acquisition that has ever happened. And I think that's testament to how important design is, because it interprets the business requirements and turns them into usable, amazing interfaces. And then the development comes afterwards. So that sets the scenes of why this is so important. If you're an owner of a business, if you're a freelancer, if you're a agency out there, design is a key element out there today. So where do we come in? What's the problem? So when you go from idea to design and then hand over to developers, that's a very painful process. It can be slow, it can be costly, and it can take weeks, months, and cost customers tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we've seen companies that only can produce maybe one iteration of their design to build something and then run out of money and can't really optimize and iterate on that. So no-code tools can help you getting from your designer to something that's working and get a working product into the hands of those users without, without doing that. But even to learn those no-code tools out there and go from the design tool Figma into those tools, it's a steep learning curve. You have to really think like a developer, and you have to, each iteration, that steep learning curve or that time and effort gets multiplied. So that code migration is very, very painful. There's some design tools out there that take from Figma to code, and then you still need to do all the coding. They're just the front end code. So that again is painful. It doesn't allow the products to be market tested, and then they're at a high risk of failure. So what we've developed is a solution. It's a plugin for Figma that allows you to convert your designs into a working app or a website. So we uniquely do both of those, and you don't need a developer. Some solutions will require some development, but you're using that critical development skill that is expensive and really, really important for the important bits. So we allow you to take a design out of Figma and convert it straight into it. This is going to reduce the amount of effort, the cost, and allows you to iterate more and more. So we, talking to customers, they're going, the tappable prototypes that are coming out of Figma are not enough to be able to turn that into a real working product. So if you are building an Uber, allow somebody to order a ride, and a driver to receive a ride. That's what you need to be able to test when you bring a product to market. Now, if you've got so much effort and time and cost to do that, that you're going to release it and you go, oh, well, we got that wrong. We can't afford to fix it. This is going to allow you to get something working in the hands of users, get that important feedback and iterate on that. So you might go through many iterations. And this is going to give you, if you're an agency, this is going to give incredible value to your customers. It's never a one-off thing. It's about iterating and using that time and effort to get things right. So actually, Swapnil, I'm not sure if I wanted to test this before, but I don't know if you're going to be able to hear the sound on this, but there's a 40-second, oops, hang on a second over there. I'm just going to go to this. Tell me, Swapnil, if you can hear this.
You have this awesome idea for an app.
Yeah, it's audible.
Now you need to design it, develop it, and deploy it to your users so you can learn from their feedback. The faster you move, the faster you learn, the better your product. You need Buzzy. Buzzy is a no-code platform for fast-moving creators. It lets you convert your Figma designs into working apps with just a few clicks. It saves you time and lets you iterate faster than ever, so you can focus on that awesome product. Oh, and Buzzy is the only tool that works for both mobile and web apps. Awesome. Iterate faster with Buzzy.
Cool. I'll go back into slideshow. So I was speaking to one of the founders of a company that used us recently, and they were building a COVID compliance app with Figma and Buzzy. And I said, how did it go? What was your takeaway? And he said, we did it in a fraction of the cost, in a fraction of the time, and a fraction of the cost with a fraction of the team. It's a no-brainer. So they built their entire MVP into production with Figma and Buzzy. They required some development. So they had people doing some business logic and writing things like AWS Lambda functions for a very small bit of it. But the core of the application was all developed using Figma and Buzzy. And that's really what makes sense. So if you think about this, the way that it works traditionally is if you're using a tool like Figma, you're going to use other tools like Principal or Zeppelin. Then you've got to do a whole bunch of coding. Then you've got to get it out to Terraform to get it onto your servers. And then you're going to go live, and you have to do that for the web. You also then need to do that separately for your native application. So you're going to do a whole bunch of coding in here and that. And again, every iteration, it's going to get harder. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. You want to change something quickly. So the new way is you just design it in Figma. You mark your design up, you publish it in Buzzy, and it's live on both the web and the native applications, iOS and Android. And you can iterate that really quickly. So if you want to make changes, you make it in Figma, click publish, it's live literally seconds later.
So it's a 3-step process, right? We are saving tons of time over here. It's just a 3-step process wherein you just have to design your concept into Figma, right? Your web app or the website or the native apps that you want to develop it, right? You just have to design it into the Figma. And with Buzzy, right, you can make the iterations, right? You can make the working apps with a single click. And you can later on do the modifications into it, whatever you want, right? By doing a simple clicks. That's a 3-step process that I can say. And I think it's, we are really excited to see that how, Buzzy can convert Figma designs into a working apps, because I have seen there are multiple no code apps. They say the no code apps, but we need to do a lot of coding behind the scene to make that design into a working model, that I can say, right? So I think it's time to dive into the product itself. We are really excited to learn more about it. Guys, let me know that you are also excited like me. Just share the fire emojis into chat box.
Cool. Thanks, Swapnil. So let's get straight into a demo. And this is what I call my Hello World demo. It's a very simple app, and I'm going to take you through some more sophisticated apps in a second, but let's start off with the simple. So this is a recipe app. We're inside Figma. If you're not familiar with it, this is your design tool. In the recipe app, you can browse the recipes, you can browse the drinks. If you click into this, you then get into the detail of the recipe over here, so you can have a look at the recipe. And then you can go down and you can give reviews. So you can see all the other reviews in here. You can add your ratings and so on. And then similarly for the drinks. So if you can build this, you can set up your prototyping in Figma. You can get a tappable prototype, but you can't actually really test that with a user and give it out there and actually validate that this application is going to work. And again, this is a very simple one. So with Buzzy, what you do is you install the Buzzy plugin, and it's literally just a one-click install out of the Figma community. You can then mark up your design. So your screen, so this over here is the start screen. You can start to mark up your views and your forms, which are ways of organizing. So this is a dynamic list of menu items over here. And then you get into the details. So if you looked at, for example, this field over here, and I'm just going to double click that. This over here is a recipe. It's the recipe ingredients field, and it's rich text. So for each application that you define, you create your data structure. So in this example, we've got a list of fields over here. They're different types. So one of the selections, some are plain text, some are rich text, number, etc. And if we looked at, for example, the reviews, we've got a rating field, which you'll see are those stars. And then we've got some review text, and we can see who submitted it. You do similarly for the food recipes, and you can create relationships between these data objects as well. So once you've marked up your design and defined your screens, your navigation, your views and forms, what I'm going to do over here is actually publish this. So I'm going to convert this to a new Buzzy application. So the Buzzy plugin now is looking at the Figma file, what you've marked up, the structure of that Figma file, and doing, basically making the magic. So it's creating the data structure at the back end on the server. It's converting the designs into the screen elements, and that's it. So if you've got a mobile device, I'd ask that you point it at the this QR code and open it up, and we're going to have a look at the generated application together. So I'll wait another few seconds. So maybe in the chat, if you can just tell me if you've done that, at least we'll get one person that's pulled up the side on their QR code, and then we'll have a look at that together, because I'm going to get you to do a review, and we'll have a look at that. So hopefully that's enough time. You've opened that. I'll open it as well. So this is the generated app in the browser, and we'll have a look at it on a mobile device soon as well. So I'm going to get this. So here are our recipes. Now, by the way, how did it get all the data in here? Close this annoying guy down. I'm sure you've seen him before, if that pops up on your screen. So this is, for example, over here, that's a recipe field. I can go to the navigation. I can go to the drinks menus. I can do that. This has all got real live data. So if I went to the Barracuda, here it is. That's the Barracuda drink, and so on. So let's go back to the food menu. Now, how did the data get in there? One of the things we did is when we set up this particular template, we actually set up to get the data from an external REST API. So we have that type of integration where you can integrate this with external systems to be able to do things like data imports. You can hook it up to a Google Sheet and so on. Now, what I'd like you to do as part of this session, so if you've got this up on your phone, if you come back to the food recipes and you go into the Boxty breakfast, recipe, and you scroll down to the bottom. And what I'd like you to do is to give this a rating. So I'm going to write this over here. I'm going to write my rating, and I'm going to submit that. And you can see that in. If you do the same, if you go do that, you'll see this live review. Now, the point I want to make over here is this is not a tappable prototype. This is a real live application. I can see someone else has put in 5 stars over here, and so on. Here comes, yeah, and now here come the rest of the reviews, and this is cool. So this is a live working app that for me, if I was a designer, I didn't have to do any coding to get this working. So let's have a look at what's happening behind the scenes over here. So I'm going to just open up the content management system, the Buzzy, which is ultimately what's being created in the back end, running on the server. So we can see over here, we've got an application. This is all our data. Now, in the Buzzy, we're using Figma. You can create a full create, read, update, CRUD interface to be able to manage the recipes if you wanted to do that. But we generated you this content management system for free, so no effort required. So over here we can see here's the drink recipes, here's the food recipes. Here are the, here's the one over here, which is the box tea breakfast one. So if I come back in over here and I go to the box tea breakfast one, let's open that up. We'll see all the data fields that we defined. And by the way, they're all the reviews that are in there as well, are here. So I'm going to change the title of this to just show you that this is a data-driven application. So I'm going to say for box tea breakfast for PitchGround. I'm going to click out of that field. That's going to update it. And here we can see on the left-hand side, this is changed automatically. So here we go. This is the box tea breakfast. So this is the live data that is the content management system at the back end. So that is, and again, we'll see all the reviews in there and so on. We have a full authentication system, so you can log in. Obviously, this is an anonymous app, so anyone could get into it. You can set up organizations and teams and roles and things for your applications. And you've got security level down to a row and a field level, so you can create pretty sophisticated apps. So let's have a look at, actually, just while we've got this one on, I'm going to go to my phone over here. And look, it's early in the morning, so I always like when I'm demoing. Now, by the way, when you generate an application, a native app, this will have an app in the iOS or Android Play Store. So in this example over here, I'm generating one. I've generated one which is for a particular customer, which this is their specific app. For this example that I'm going to show you now, I'm going to go into the generic Buzzy player app. And what we'll see over here is, let me see, where did I, let me just refresh that. Where's my PitchGround? This is where my demo stuff, so I'll just show you one of these. So this is you can see we've got a database. You can get to the access through the player application. So it's basically a content management application. But one of the things I can do is I can actually preview that app. So that's actually a native application. We use React Native. You get all the native capabilities. Now, one of the really cool things with this is it actually handles offline. So I can go into airplane mode and I can still get to my content. I can still do things like actually interact with it and do reviews. And when it comes back online, it will sync with the server. So when you're developing applications, that's really, really important to be able to do that sort of stuff and have that capability. So if you want to build an application that's robust, that can work down a mine shaft or in a shopping center or out in the bush where there's no mobile coverage, those types of things. And that just works out of the box with Buzzy. So I'm going to just go back in here. And so on. So that was the recipe app. There was actually another one. I'm not sure why that's coming up. That's the demonstrator's curse, but you get the idea. So let's have a look at another application that's a bit more
sorry to interrupt you, Adam. Before we move ahead to the another application, let me ask you guys, if you have any questions, or if you have something in mind that you wanted to ask, you can ask into the Q&A section, because it's a dedicated section for the Q&A, and we would be picking up the winner from the Q&A section. So guys, if you have any questions, just shoot out your questions inside the Q&A tab, and I want to see who is the lucky winner of today's giveaway. Yeah, over to you, Adam.
Yeah. So, and actually, I can see in the chat that there's an example. Now, we on the Figma site, if you search for Buzzy, you'll come up with a whole bunch of templates and samples over there. And somebody asks that, can I create an app like a task manager? The answer is actually, we've already got a sample for you over here. So where is it? Here's the task list app. So that's actually an application that it's a template. It's one of our samples that you can create that over here. So if you look at each one of the samples, we provide you the screens. They're already marked up with the Buzzy plugin. Depending on the template, we try and teach you different things. So some of them are a bit more sophisticated, and then it explains to you how to go and set up certain things in the application to learn how to be able to use that. So one of the other templates that I wanted to show you was this CRM app. And just to give you an idea over here, so if we're looking, this is the CRM app. So this was actually created by a freelancer. We gave them the Getting Started guide. So it's about 6 lessons. It's about an hour of time for you. So it's very quick for you to be able to learn the basics. And we said, you know what, we want you to go and create a CRM app that allows you, it was, the use case was for an air conditioning company. We want a dashboard. We want to be able to put in things like customers and new deals. And again, this is an example that we give you to be able to do this. So let's have a look at what this application looks like. And I'll go, let's go, I've got a sample one of this over here. So I'm just going to bring this up. And I'll just go to preview of this. So this was the application that was created from that Figma template. That is an actual working CRM app. Look, I wouldn't say it's going to compete with Salesforce. It was done as a simple demo, but it's got a lot of cool functionality. So this is the dashboard over here. So I could do something like I could come in and I could put a new deal in and a new customer. So we'll add new, and again, these were all screens and flows that were designed in Figma. So I'll give it a new name over here called PitchGround. We'll save that customer and so on. So we can now see this customer over here is in the database. If we looked at the customers over here, here's PitchGround over here. So this is a real live working CRM application that is running on the Buzzy infrastructure. So here we're going to open that customer and we're going to add a new deal in. And again, this was for you put in the number of square meters, the number of people, and so I'll go some street, city, somewhere. Now we have things like address fields that do things like geolocation. Again, this was just done, in the simplest way possible for that. So now we've added a new deal in there. If we go back to our dashboard, we'll see there's that new deal, some street, there's our new customer, and so on. Now, this was created incredibly quickly. So, and actually, as part of this application, you can create tasks. You can, if you went in here, you can start adding activities. You can add a new activity over here. So, some activity. You can specify, dates, and you can upload images and things. We'll just keep it real simple. So again, this is, so here we can see that's the activity. And again, you'll start to see that stuff, come through if the dashboard pulls in that data. So you can create pretty sophisticated applications. So this here's got a task list as part of it, and so on. So really, really cool. We've seen customers create, very complex B2B applications with this, screen flows, and that it doesn't have to be simple like this. So that's a bit of, that's the second example that I wanted to show you. The other ones, let's just go over here. What are the other ones I was going to show? So we're just about to release some new capability on, hang on a sec, I'm just going to go to my phone. I'm going to bring this up. So we've just developed some new capability that allows you to, from within Figma, to be able to develop a integration with a Bluetooth device. Our first one that we've done, and we'll make this generic very soon, is with a blood pressure monitor. So if you've got a Bluetooth blood pressure monitor, I've actually got a test one sitting on my desk over there.
Awesome.
I'm not going to take my blood pressure in the meeting because it's probably up because I'm standing and talking to you guys. But this is the application that was designed by a designer to be able to take blood pressure. Now, I don't know if you've ever developed a Bluetooth integration. It is nasty. It is low-level coding at the byte and bit level. Those messages are coming from the Bluetooth device. So all the designer had to do was come in and mark up the application to be able to do this. So I'm going to show you this sample application over here. So this is on my phone again. So I'm on my phone over here, and that's what you're seeing on the screen over there. And I'm just going to do a preview of that application. So this is the app, and we can see that we've got the last 7 readings. So this is a chart. By the way, this chart was actually done with a custom bit of code, and it was part of our demonstration to show you how you can customize this. You can look at the list of the readings in here, and you'll see things like it'll color them depending on whether it's that stage. So if you're a high stage 1 blood pressure, it'll give you that orange. You know, if you go to stage 2, it might be red. If you're normal, it's green. So you can build that sort of logic straight from your Figma design into the working application. Now, when I click on the application over here to be able to connect to the Bluetooth device, I can now connect to that Bluetooth device and then get an actual reading from that Bluetooth device. So this is, again, this is running on my device as a Bluetooth application that probably would have taken you months to develop. Now a designer can do that very quickly and start testing this with users, get that valuable feedback, and start iterating on that. Make sure that it does what it needs. So we also generated a web version of this. Now, obviously, a web version is not going to give you the ability to take the Bluetooth device because you need that native device capability. And this is where web technology can't go, because like the capability that you've got with a native device, things like background tracking and native device integration, geolocation down to the level where you're going to want it to be able to do that offline, and so on. And now that's the same application that was developed running as a responsive website. So that's, again, this is the same way that we generated the recipe app or the CRM app. These are just example applications that allow you to do that. So that's kind of I thought I'm going to just pause over there and just see if there's any questions, and then we can dive into some more detail.
Awesome. My mind is just blown by seeing the capability of the Buzzy plugin. Guys, it's not just converting your Figma designs into apps or the websites. It's actually creating a CRM or the CMS in the backend, right? So that you can manage, for example, you have a design of the front end, you have a design of the backend or the admin panel, I can say. You can convert both the things into a working models, right? Your front end and the back end, and both are connected so that you can manage your front end from your back end or the admin panel. So this is the capability of the Buzzy plugin. Let me just, cover up some of the highlights of Buzzy plugin. With Buzzy, you can convert your Figma designs into a live app using the functionality, data, and behaviors you define in Figma with Buzzy plugin. And it's a similar tool to bubble.io, which is very famous around the designers community. And you can see it has an intuitive UI and UX, easy to use platform, and very stable and matured plugin, right? And it's based for solopreneurs, freelancers, SMEs, CXO, and Figma UX designers who use Figma and want to scale up their business or clients. Yeah, so we can pick up some of the questions which came in the Q&A section. And guys, let me recall it again. You have to ask your questions inside the Q&A sections. Why? Because we are going to pick up the giveaway winner for this, for the today's webinar from the Q&A section only, right? So it's a high chance if you're putting questions into there, you might be a winner of today's giveaway. So let's pick up the first questions, Adam. So Charles, we're asking like how much tech skill is required to use this? Over to you, Adam.
Yeah. So the answer is, Charles, is it really depends on the type of application that you're building. There are going to be certain applications where you're going to be able to build 100% of everything straight within Buzzy and Figma. There are going to be other applications where the components that we have, just because you're building something completely custom, doesn't actually, we don't do that, and you need to do some coding. So if I talked about, just as an example, that COVID application that we're talking about, they probably built, I don't know, maybe 20 screens, probably 90% of the application using the Buzzy plugin. But there were some very specific rules and business logic that needed to be written to determine if somebody was compliant. So it was around, looking at whether, if you were vaccinated, what's your vaccination certificate? Is it still current? If you weren't vaccinated, you had to submit a weekly test. And then some organizations had requirements for daily tests. Now, that application logic, that is very specific to that use case, and they wrote that as a Lambda function that was outside of it. So, and it used the Buzzy APIs to be able to update that information. But there was a very sort of limited component within a much larger project that I would say 90% of all the screens, all the front end were 100% done in that. Now, what I'll do is I'll show you another example. So one of our templates that we've got, so I'll just go back here. One of our templates that we've got in, sorry, this one over here is custom JavaScript in that. Now, to install a template into Figma, you just click Get a Copy, and that will install it into the, let's go over here, let's choose my user. That will install the template. Now, this example goes through, with some technical detail of how to extend this. So it's a very simple example. There's some simple data that exists in the system, and that's all going to be just done in Buzzy and Figma. But then we wanted to develop some specific charts that we don't have a Buzzy component for. So we've got an element, which is an HTML element, that allows you to stick custom HTML and code in as one of those elements. So it's one of the ways that we allow you to extend the product when we don't do that. So if we had a look at the, the blood pressure monitor, this application, I think I'm in the right version here. If I get this, this application up and I go to the chart, let's just go into there. Where is, so this over here is an HTML field. If we had a look at this, this field over here, actually I haven't published from here, so I don't have, actually let me just show you in the back end. I'm just going to jump in. I haven't published from this file because it's one of our demos. Let me go into the back end over here. So if I looked at this, this chart that's been produced through the CMS, and we look at this field, this over here is going to have some custom code. Now this code is, it gets the data from from the Buzzy content management system, and you can interact with it. You can do stuff. So there is a way that you can add in your own custom code when required. So obviously that's a more technical task that you may or may not need developers depending on what that particular thing is. Now we do have a lot of this is actually a sample that we're about to release, which is kind of similar to that, and it goes through. This is actually a very well-known methodology to try to determine whether a company's got product market fit. You said, look, if we took away the product, and you'll be able to change this. We'll provide this as a template. You can replace with your product, change the look and feel. But if you looked at this over here, which is, for example, if you can no longer use something, would you be? I'll just type some stuff in here, and there's a set of questions that we ask. X, Y, Z. And we submit that. What we did over here is we wrote, a custom widget over here that shows you whether you've got over 40% of people that are very disappointed, and that helps you determine product market fit from all these results. But we wrote a rule over here that allows you to refresh the data. Now, within a Buzzy application, you can write some rules, and this gets into the bit of the more advanced technical stuff. So, for example, over here, you can say, right, when the calculate button is clicked, and again, you can do this on add, submit. What I want to do is I want to do what's called a cross-app action, and then we can say, Buzzy, you can choose where you want to get your data from. You can say, I want to get it from the survey. We want to get it from the surveys. We want to choose the field, and then we want to do an action, which is an aggregate, which in this example is a count, but you can do a sum, an average, and so on. So we have, like, to be able to add this type of logic, we've got some very simple ways to be able to do it as well. You can also write rules that integrate with external systems. So you can write a rule that, so instead of doing this, I'll just put, we're going to send some JSON data. So you can send to an external API out there as well. So that's kind of, just, I wanted to show you some areas where you might need some more technical skills. So that simple rule, you probably wouldn't need any development skill for that. But if you wanted to integrate this with, something like an AWS Lambda function or some, you were going to call some external API, you're going to need some technical skill to be able to do that. So hopefully that answers the question. But again, the core application, I will say that if you go through our getting started guide, please start with this. It just steps you through some very simple tutorials. There's 6 lessons over here. It's about an hour of lesson time. Everyone just goes straight in, gets the most complicated Figma design and hits publish, and it doesn't work. You need to learn the basics. And again, some of these lessons are only a few minutes long. You'll be able to create a full CRUD application. And then there's, a series of additional information of doing things like writing responsive versus fixed layout. And again, all this can be done from within Figma. And then, things like integrating with Google Analytics. Again, there's a whole ton of lessons over here for you to be able to extend your skills. But please start with this and get accredited. So if you go down to the bottom of the screen over here, you can actually get accredited, where our team will help you get accredited. We want you to build your skills in Buzzy, and we'll review your designs you've submitted and give you some feedback to be able to do that. So please do the lessons and get accredited. That's really the first step that you want to go through.
Awesome. So we'll pick up the next question. So Mandy is asking, would the app be mobile responsive or smartphone or iPad responsive?
Yes, so you need to design that into your application and follow best practices from within Figma. So using things like auto layouts and responsive capabilities within Figma. And again, we've got a whole bunch of samples that explain to you, that show you how to do that. And some things to be able to, do tests and things. So if you look at the, if you come back to the, the set of samples here, there's a whole bunch of, there's like responsive landing pages. Most of these apps are just responsive. And then there's things like the responsive layer test. This template over here will give you some tools to be able to test things like responsiveness and so on.
Okay. So
I saw the next question. So does this publish to the Apple Store or to the apps run via the Buzzy app? You publish them to the Apple Store. So if you remember that one that I showed you before, for example, here, like that Sean Thompson one, I'm going to click that one down the bottom over there, that live the code one. That's actually a Buzzy application that was written for that is actually in the Apple Store. So this is we produce both iOS and Android apps to be able to go into your Apple Store. So there's some obviously initial setup and configuration that we do with you, and you need to give us developer access to that, so we can publish those apps for you, and then it will go through its normal workflow with Apple. One of the cool things as well is, like, to make minor changes in that, you can just do them in the Figma file and they'll automatically be updated in the app. So you don't have to go through that for everything. But again, you just need to follow Apple and Google's, you signed the agreement with them, you need to follow their requirements for adhering to those. Yeah, cool.
Okay, so the next question is coming from the Rafael. He's asking, do Buzzy have a good API functionality? I ask you because I'm a Bubble user, and there we have, this is a very powerful resource.
Yeah, so the short answer to that is yes. So we've got, again, this is getting into more of the development aspects of things. So we have an API that allow you to basically get data out, and you can write data back in. So the example that I talked about before, which is the compliance application. So when the user clicked a button in that example, we sent the data, we sent a request to the compliance app. When that example was a Lambda function. Lambda function used the Buzzy API to look at the data and write the complex business logic, and then could write a response back to Buzzy through the API. So those rules that I showed you before allow you to call out to an external API, and then you can use the Buzzy, the Buzzy REST API to be able to to get data back in. Again, when you call like an API, it's the same as a user using it on the front end. It will fire rules and things like that as well, and check that things work. So there's there's some simple examples over here of, like, calling out and, when you submit something, put it into a MailChimp list and stuff like that. But again, these can be pretty sophisticated, examples where you, this is using one particular third-party system, or using Python, to get into data, or whatever language you use. So yeah, cool. Hopefully that answers the question.
All right. So the next question that I think, so you have already answered this. Can I create an app like To-Do app? You have already answered that question, right? You have already shown the template wherein it's already ready-made inside the template library of Buzzy Plugin. You can use that app as a base app, and you can, you can develop it further. Then the next question is coming from RK Saiba. He's asking, how would the Buzzy effect, sorry, I'm calling Breezy because morning I was working on Breezy Cloud, and it's a Buzzy webinar. Okay. So how would the Buzzy affect the speed and optimization of the website or apps built?
So can we just, sorry, I just lost the thread of the question. Is it in the chat?
So yeah, he's asking, like, how's the speed and optimization of the websites or the apps which built on Buzzy?
So, like everything, you need to, you need to follow best practices, and you can, so for example, with things like SEO and that, we can set up a pre-render of the application for things like SEO optimization. And excuse me, it just really depends on that. Now, when you deploy the application, there are deployment options, and the size of the server and the size of the database is going to come into play over there. You can you get your own, in a deployment plan, you get your own server. It's running on Kubernetes, so you can scale that horizontally to deal with your performance requirements. You can obviously scale it vertically as well, so you can choose different instance sizes of compute power, and then you can choose the level of the database infrastructure needed. So do you just need a simple database that's running on a shared cluster, or do you need your own 3-node cluster to be able to handle huge amounts of data and a high number of concurrent users? So like all performance questions, it really depends on what the application does and what you're trying to do with it, and working out an architecture that supports that. And the flexibility is there. So when you deploy, it is a single tenant scenario. So you're not in a shared environment, with competing for resources. So you get dedicated server resources and database resources for you. And again, just choosing the right option to meet those performance requirements.
All right. So the next question is coming from the Ryan. He's asking, like, can you convert Figma designs into WordPress websites?
No, is the short answer. So we take the Figma designs and we convert it into obviously into a Buzzy application, not into WordPress. So, and again, like the key differentiator for us is that when we convert something at the server level, we're turning it into the Buzzy language, which describes how an application looks, how it works, and interacts. And we then can serve that up as either a native application or as a responsive web app. And that's like you mentioned Bubble before. It's one of our key differentiators, is that we create both web and native applications out of the same design. One of the other key differentiators, versus tools like Bubble, is that you're generally using Figma and then you redoing it in Bubble. We are keeping you in Figma. So if you're working with your customers, one of the most amazing capabilities about Figma is and the reason why it's number one in my eyes is that it's the collaborative capability. So we've seen teams of, 5, 10 people, all where the business people are all busy collaborating inside a Figma design, putting comments in saying, hey, can you do this? Or we need to fix this, or whatever it is. And that's where you're going to get that amazing, productivity by all collaborating and staying in Figma and then quickly publishing, as opposed to, hey, we need to change this. Okay, I'll go get the developers. Even in a low-code tool or no-code tool, that's going to be a huge amount of effort. So again, it's that speed of making design changes to getting something working that's really the key differentiator. Yeah, and that's about keeping you in Figma.
Awesome. So then we'll pick up the next question and then we'll move ahead with the rest of the presentation. So the Mozam is asking, any monetization options available in the app?
Sorry, it's just more clarification of monetization.
Mozam, can you just elaborate it more, because monetization's having multiple options, right? Do you want to run any ads on your app, or just elaborate it more so that it would be helpful us to understand your question and answer in a better way. We'll pick up the next question. Can we build extensive web apps on Buzzy using Figma? For example, studioninja.co. He has shared one link, that is studioninja.co. You can open that link and see.
Is that in the which chat is that?
It's in the Q&A section. Let me send it to you. Let me send it to you over the chat. I have shared.
Obviously, this is the first time I've ever seen this software, but if you're looking at, we're seeing, companies, agencies and that, or customers create pretty sophisticated applications. We're not going to have things like when you sort of say Studio Ninja, you're not going to use Buzzy to create like a multiplayer game or an augmented reality site. That's capability that we don't have. But if this is just about capturing data and integrating with customers and people logging in and that without sort of knowing what this site does, I would say, yes, we should be able to do this. Again, I don't know what is under the covers over here, but you can capture data, you can move it through the workflow. Things like,
seems to
like
be a CRM, Adam.
Yeah. Like I said, the charts and that, you're probably going to need to write some custom code, but they're pretty easy. So you're just going to use standard, HTML widgets like chart.js or something to be able to do that. But like these, like definitely like this type of UI and that where there's data and stuff, you should be able to create that in Buzzy, no problem.
Okay, I think so. It's a kind of CRM wherein the photographers or the digital media creators can track of all their invoices, clients, their jobs, and they keep a track of their tasks and jobs, workflows, contracts, everything. So it's a kind of the CRM which is designed for the photographers.
Yeah. So I think if you jump into our Discord, and I think for everybody, if you jump into our Discord and ask the questions there, we'll try and set up a private chat with some of our team to be able to support you and just listen to your requirements. And there's always like 10 different ways of doing something, like with any tool. So yeah, I'd say this is definitely inside the wheelhouse. Cool. I saw another question in there in terms of like the deployment options. So look, the core technology we have is we basically a set of Docker that's at the server side. We're a set of Docker images and we run on top of a MongoDB. We've got deployment plans that obviously would be custom for your scenario, like small, medium, large, which runs in our infrastructure, which is on top of DigitalOcean. We do have customers that are running on AWS or any other Kubernetes infrastructure. It could be Google Cloud and Azure or even on-prem. But that falls into our fourth category of deployment, which is enterprise, which is going to cost a lot more. So for us, we've come up with some very very, very cost effective, because we've done, deal with the backend hosting company to be able to provide you a very flexible and scalable options to deploy your applications.
All right.
But Ian, if you contact me afterwards, then we can discuss that further. I think Ian Gillett.
Okay. So the Mandy is asking if a website has a live chat option, would the mobile app also have the live chat option? So I think so that is a script, the live chat, tool script that you can install it or paste it on the app, and it would be visible across your mobile app or the the web app.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes. Yeah. So there's a couple of options. So one, we actually do provide out of the box integration with Intercom. So you can have an intercom widget, which is the one that you kept seeing popping up when I said the annoying guy, which was me, keeps popping up. And you can turn that on or off just straight from your application settings. And I think there's a video there that explains how to do that. You can actually create a chat application in this. And we see that as quite a common use case. We should get a template out there that does that. So you can create a chat as part of the application that you've got. So like in the example where we updated the so chat's quite a common scenario. We have the ability, one of the rules we have is you can send notifications to people. So you can send push notifications if you're using the native device, or you can send email notifications if they've opted into that. So those are some of the rules that you could write. So you could definitely, write chat components as part of the applications that you develop using Figma and Buzzy.
All right. One question that came, but I did not understand what he wanted to ask. Are users and guests same? So Mandy, would you please elaborate more what you want to ask? We are not able to understand what you want to ask. We'll head over to the next question. Bashir was asking, can I export the code?
No, Yeah, the short answer is no. And I'll tell you why we do that. So when I was a product manager at IBM and I dealt with the no code, low code and deep code stuff, and we generated a lot of code. What happens is when you export the code on day one, you will take that code and ultimately fork it and do something with it. And we fix an issue tomorrow, we add a new feature the day after. You've now forked that code and you're in a world of pain to be able to do that. So for us, we've drawn the hard line at this point of time that we're not going to give you that code. We're going to maintain, all the, there's no use us generating you and giving you, thousands of lines of code and you're going like, what's this? Or I changed something and then it's just going to create a nightmare. I've seen that happen time and time again. So we maintain that code. We're going to keep it up to scratch. We're going to keep it best practices. We're going to keep it performant. And that's really what we do. Yeah, so the short answer is we're not going to give you that code.
All right.
For good reasons. Good reasons. So.
Yeah, obviously, because what happens is once we export the code and any new updates came into the platform, any security updates or anything, right? The stability updates and everything, then it's again, if you want to deploy it on the Buzzy and again redo it, it's a headache, right?
Yeah,
so that's the reason it's an ecosystem, guys, because they are maintaining everything. You don't have to worry about the maintenance part. You don't have to worry about the security part. You don't have to worry about everything which is required to manage one application or the website, right? So everything is taken care by the Buzzy team. So you can just rely and you can, whatever changes that you want to do it, you can simply go log in, do the changes. For example, if you want to change the text, just do it, right? If you want to change the colors, just do it. That's it. No need of, hiring a developer or taking a developer's assistance, or no need to scratch your head or go to the backend or see the codes and do the editing into your HTML code, right? No need to do that, right? It's a simple job, which is, the every heavy lifting is done by the Buzzy team for you so that you can simplify your workflows. You can save your time and money as well. All right, so we can move ahead with the remaining presentation and we can pick up the remaining questions later on. Guys, stay tuned because we are going to announce the giveaway winner out of the Q&A sections. So whoever asks the questions inside the Q&A sections, you have to stay tuned till the end because you might be the winner. And if you're not there in the live webinar, we will pick up the next winner. So you have to be there. Yeah, over to you, Adam.
Yeah. So just one thing, if you're an agency and you want to talk to us about partnering, we're busy bringing out a new program that works with agencies to give you a cut of the deployment plans and that. So please reach out to me. Again, in terms of our differentiator and really sort of the summary is that we only full stack, as in you get the full system working, database, server, the whole lot. That supports both web and mobile straight out of Figma and keeps you working in Figma. And that's, that's the game changer here is that, we're in that decade of design. Figma is that #1 tool. If you're not using it, given that Adobe's just acquired it, you should be, if you couldn't send a clearer message to you. And I think it's going to be around there for a long time. So this is going to be the way that people are working. It's going to allow you to provide more value to your customers. So whether you're an agency or you're using this as an internal tool, your customer being your organization, this is the game changer. And we're just trying to speed that up so you can do more, spend your money and time doing the really hard stuff and not this stuff. And we'll make that easy for you. So thanks heaps for your time. Really, really excited to be working with you. Please reach out to me, join our Discord, just ping me. We're a pretty flexible team and we'll help you be successful because it helps us be successful. So yeah, thanks a lot.
All right. So guys, let me tell you why Busy, because you can create mobile and desktop apps. No need to understand the code. If you are a complete beginner, you don't know how to code it, even though with that design, you can make workable apps and you can deploy it on web. Like you can create a native apps like iOS apps or the Android apps without knowing anything about coding, right? That's the power and the beauty of Buzzy plugin. And get a working apps way faster because you know how much time it takes to build one app, right? It takes months and sometimes years as well, I can say, right? To deploy one app if it is a complex app. But with the help of Buzzy plugin, you can cut down 80 to 90% of your time and you can deploy or you can create your app the way faster by using Buzzy plugin and get a real product update in the hands of your customers in minutes, not months. Supercharge feedback and design iterations so that you can do the changes whenever the customer wants to do anything. You can do it fast without worrying about anything, right? So this is Buzzy plugin. And guys, let me tell you that this is on a lifetime deal on a pitchground.com. If you don't know, just head over to pitchground.com/product/buzzy. You will see this amazing plugin which is listed on our platform on a lifetime deal. No need to pay monthly, yearly, nothing. You just have to pay one-time fee to get this plugin. Let me tell you the plans and pricing. We're offering 3 plans over here. Plan A, which is only $49 for lifetime, not monthly, no yearly, no quarterly, only one-time fee that you have to pay. That is $49 for lifetime, in which you can create unlimited apps, unlimited sites, and you'll be getting one created license. That is means one admin user, and you can invite your team members, for example, external users up to 5 team members or the external guests that I can say. I think so that the question that came up from Mandy, he was asking the same, whether the guests, users and guests are same or not. So that you can answer, Adam.
Yeah. So as a what we call a creator, you can create that. You can create an unlimited number of apps, and we have that because that's done on a multi-tenant environment, which is why we restrict that. Otherwise, if you invite 10,000 people or 1 million people to that application, it's going to probably not scale that well. You want your own server for that, so you want your own deployment. I actually also saw the other question over there is the monetization, like can I block certain portions of the app and users if they need that content, they pay and unblock it. So sure, you could build that in. So we have a security model built into the application. So you can define security level at different levels. So you've got the concepts of organizations and teams. You can also make a specific, what we call row or item of data only available to a subset of users, individual users. So there's some roles and security settings, and you can also control things down to a field level. So there's definitely ways that you can put certain content or functionality behind a paywall, if that's what, in terms of the, for the actual transaction to do the paywall, we're going to expect that you're going to use some external system like Stripe to be able to do that. So that's not something we provide in the product, but that's just generally a web link out or something like that to transact, or using our APIs to be able to do that. So that's up to you to configure, but you can definitely have secure content inside an application that's only available to a subset of either a specific user or a group of users.
Okay, let me go back to the plans and pricing. So I was telling you about, there are 3 plans. One is plan A, that is only $49 for lifetime. Then plan B, only $197 for lifetime, in which you will be getting unlimited apps, sites creation, 5 creator licenses, that is admin users, and you can invite external users up to 25 members, right? Then if you want to go for the higher plan, then we have plan C, that is only $397 for lifetime. Again, you can create unlimited apps, unlimited site creation, 15 created licenses or the admin users, and 75 external users, that is means guest. And you'll be getting all the features of Buzzy Creator Pro plan inside this lifetime deal. inside for only for the plan C and plan B, and yeah, plan A as well, right? And yes, guys, we are offering a 60 days money back guarantee from pitchground.com. So that's it. This is a Buzzy plugin, which is on a lifetime deal on pitchground.com. Just head over to pitchground.com/product/Buzzy. You will see Buzzy is listed over there, and there are 3 plans. Let me just quickly cover up. Plan A, $49 for lifetime. Plan B for $197 for lifetime. Plan C only for $397 for lifetime. So guys, go and grab your lifetime deal. So we can head over to the next Q&A sections, and let's pick up the next questions.
Yeah, so there was a question about authentication. So have a look at this simple login demo. That will give you the basics. It kind of goes through like a simple authentication. It's just literally and it shows how to set that up. So you can send a login token to someone, and they log in, and then they get to see the secure site. So yeah, have a look at that, and then there'll be there's some other samples, or just reach out to us if you've got any question. Cool. So that was, I think, sorry. So the question was, how do I add authentication sign up login? So that's this example will show you. Explain to you how to do that. So have a look at the example. Like most of them will have like a YouTube video that goes along with that, and then there's like some very specific instructions on how you would set up things like the rules for that, and then you can set up your your authentication and stuff. So you can set up the sign-in screen and so on. So that's, yeah. Please go look at those tutorials. With any other questions, Swapnil?
Yeah, let me just scroll down. Okay, so Bashir was asking, what about the hosting part?
So, so the plans that so if we look over here, so, usually the plan that the offer that we've got over here with PitchGround is around the creator license, which is our, it's on a multi-tenant server. You don't have to deploy anything. You can run stuff. You can test your apps. You can do everything. You can invite, the number of users depending on which you bought that plan A, B, or C. And then because every app is different, you really need to choose a deployment plan. So this is where you choose either small, medium, or large, and you're really paying for this is where we make our money. We've got to make money somewhere along the line over here. And we've negotiated really good deals with the hosting companies. So instead of you paying AWS to do this, you pay us to be able to do it, and you get your own compute power. You get your own database cluster. So every one of these has their own database cluster. The difference between the small and the medium, the small and the medium are basically on a shared cluster. So you're sharing that infrastructure with other people, which is going to have some limitations, not just in size. But then when you go to the large one as well, you get extra compute units, so you can configure them in terms of how you want to load balance, or you might have dev and staging environments that are separate. You can still set up in like a medium. You can still set up your own applications, one for dev, one for staging, one for testing, or however many you want. So there's no limitation in that respect. But if you wanted to have separate environments, if you're doing like heavy load testing, you wanted separate environments, that's where you can start to configure this compute power to meet those requirements. So for example, you might have a cluster dealing with mobile clients, you might have a cluster dealing with web clients, you might have some worker servers if you need, if you're doing heavy API operations. When we've got customers that were doing geolocation and importing millions of records into the database. So that worker server or a cluster of worker servers would want to be separate from you wouldn't want to impact things like the performance on the front end. And then again, this is running on a 3-node database cluster. So we use MongoDB Atlas for that, which is the number one. So it's obviously provided by MongoDB, so it's secure and everything like that. And again, you're getting your own database cluster. So that each one of these solutions is effectively single tenant. So you're not sharing that infrastructure with other users, which might be important from either a performance point of view or from a compliance point of view. running on your own infrastructure, and that, again, just come speak to us. Just so you know, that's where our history has been. We come from the enterprise market, and now we're building this as a much higher volume play. In here, we've been around for years, so this is where we've always done. But you need to be, if you looked at the documentation over here, that's where you look at things like deployment and that on your own infrastructure. Oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong section over here. But you can look at like the deployment plan. So this is something that we've always done. So for Azure and that, somebody asked the question before, but again, that falls into our enterprise offering for the deployment stuff. So forgotten which screen I was on. So very simple, very cost-effective plans. And again, if you're an agency, we'll give you a cut of this. So come speak to us. Yeah, love to be able to work with you and win together.
Awesome. So guys, let me just quickly cover up what we have covered in this today's webinar. So this is a Buzzy plugin. You can create, edit, and update a live app directly from Figma with Buzzy. Buzzy converts your Figma designs into a live app using the functionality, data, and behaviors you defined in Figma with the Buzzy plugin. Create fully working native apps, responsive websites, MVPs, or prototypes with real data, user-generated content, and live forms straight from the Figma without coding. Use the plugin to mark up your design, connect to the data, and publish it. If you want to do a color changes, no problem. Add a new section, done. It's just very, very simple, right? Connect user taste and real data and working forms with an ease, right? And design, test, and deploy working apps with real data, user-generated content, and live forms without leaving Figma. Whatever changes that you do it on Figma, Buzzy plugin will pick up those changes, and the user or the customer can see it live. So that's a simple process Buzzy has, right? And if you haven't checked out the lifetime deal which we're offering on pitchground.com, just head over to pitchground.com/buzzy/product/buzzy, and there are 3 plans that we have listed on a lifetime deal. You just have to pay one-time fee. Plan A, only $1.49 for lifetime. Plan B, only $197 for lifetime. Plan C, only $397 for lifetime. So these are the 3 plans that we're offering. If you have any questions related to the plans and pricing, just ask your questions inside the Q&A sections. We would be happy to answer all the doubts, all the questions that you have, irrespective of if you have questions related to plans and pricing, if you have related to the functionality of Buzzy plugin, if you want to see anything, right, you can ask in this live webinar. So let me just quickly go to the Q&A section and let me check. Do we have any questions lying there? Okay, RK Saib was asking, so we can use our own servers to deploy the sites or apps?
Only if you go into the enterprise plan. So those small, medium, large are on our servers. It's the simplest and probably most cost-effective way. If you want to talk to us about enterprise stuff, then yeah, just reach out to us.
All right. So I think so. That was the last question. So it's time to pick up the winner of today's webinar. So Adam, it's over to you. Which question or which user
you didn't prepare me for this. I don't know. I don't know. There was a lot of questions. So what are the criteria?
No criteria. It's up to you. It's up to you.
You didn't prepare me for this. I feel like
that's the magic of today's webinar. All right.
I'm just going through the questions.
Yeah. So now it's not my hand. It's not Adam's hand. It's Adam's mind who's reading all the questions, and I want to see who is the lucky winner of the giveaway code of lifetime deal of Buzzy plugin.
Yeah, I don't know. Can I hand it back to you?
That's a tough job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we don't use Wheel of Fortune spin.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, but
Okay, so let's.
yeah, but we have to copy each and every name one by one. Okay, so let me just copy it quickly. Meanwhile, what you can do is if you can just showcase the template library. Meanwhile, I can just copy all the names from the Q&A section, and we can do that will part.
Yeah, cool.
This is the first time that we are going to do it in the live webinar. We haven't done the live will thing inside the webinar. Yeah.
So I mean, just while we're waiting on that, I'd love to know, like, what actually are the folk on the, are you agencies or are you the end customer? I don't know if you can respond in the Q&A or the chat. I don't see the chat.
You can showcase the existing template library of Buzzy Plugins.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry.
So that other people will understand those are the ready-made apps you can quickly deploy within a minute. Right.
There's some of these plugins. Sorry, some of these templates are just like little snippets. So things like search and that as well. So if you looked at the search one, that kind of shows you how to configure, search functionality in there. So things like, it goes through just a simple example of like being able to search either by name or by name and email. Set up that type of functionality. The other ones in here, like things like the onboarding wizard, that goes through a multi-form, which can be used, not just for onboarding, but could be used for like multi-form views on content. The task list app, the login one we talked about, the landing page, that's a pretty cool one. Very simple. This is how to deal with images. There's a portfolio. This is a pretty cool one to get started with. If you're an agency or a designer, go and have a look at this. It kind of goes through. Oops, what did I do that? It goes through like setting up like a portfolio site for an agency, where you can drill down and go into. There's a few of these out there. You can also one of the other ones. So there's another landing page one there. There's a book review app. There's a health app. This one's a contact form. That's a really good one if you want to just look at basic CRUD skills. The recipe app we obviously demoed. And then this is the getting started guide, which is, it's got a whole series of those lessons. You go and build a spaceship application and just learn how Buzzy works. Things like, again, these are like snippet ones. So like the overlays and modals, obviously, or the JavaScript one, which is using the charting example. That hopefully give you, strong set of applications that will explain to you how things work. How you going, Scott?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let me just share my screen.
I'll stop.
Yeah. Can you see it?
Yeah.
All right. So Brian, Mandy, Rafael, RK Saiba, Charles, Bashir, Ayan, and Mozum. So these people have asked questions inside the Q&A section. Let me just shuffle it. Okay. And here we go. Congratulations, Rafael. You are the winner. If you are there inside the live webinar, just say hi. Just say hi. If you're not there, we'll pick up the next question, next winner, right? I told you, you have to be there till the end. Just say hi or say something inside the chat section.
Doesn't look,
Raphael, on
it
the
doesn't
count
look like
of
it looks like Raphael's left. He was there a few minutes ago.
yeah. So that's miss for him, right? So let me pick up the next winner. Let me share my screen again. Okay, let me remove. All right. So his bad. Oh. Ian, are you there?
He's still
Yeah,
online.
he's there. He's there. So
Yeah,
he's the winner.
okay.
And
Reach out.
congratulations. Yeah, and congratulations, you won the lifetime deal of Buzzy Plugin. Just say hi inside the chat box. Let us know that you're still there, or just kept a phone and just listening to us, or just having lunch, dinner, or whatever you're doing. Just say hi. But yeah, you won because you're still there inside the live webinar. You haven't left, and you are the winner of today's giveaway. You can ping me on Facebook. I think so. You are already there. Let me just share my. All right, so you're there. Let me just DM you. Just DM me your PitchGround email ID, PitchGround account email ID. Your account, your giveaway code will be credited to your account within 5 to 7 working days. And congratulations again, guys. Do not forget to check it out, the lifetime deal of Buzzy Plugin on pitchground.com. We are offering very generous plan on lifetime deal, only $49 for lifetime plan A, plan B, $197 for lifetime, plan C, only $397 for lifetime. And guys, if you have any questions related to the plans and pricing, if you have any questions related to the tool, please do not forget to ask your questions and queries inside the Facebook community. Let me share that link with you in the chat box. You can join our community. You can tag me and you can tag Adam on your questions. Here we go. So that's it from our side. Do you want to share anything before we wrap up, Adam?
No, stoked to be here. Happy to work with you. And if you want to reach out to me, and I'd love to chat and find out what you're looking to do, and that goes for everybody else as well. So just reach out to me on our Discord. There's a link on our website, looking to succeed with each and every one of you. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much, Adam, for taking your precious time out and sharing some valuable information and demonstrating the tool. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be seeing you in the next live event or the webinar. Till the time, take care, be happy, and keep improving 1% every day. Have a good day all.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.